Off my makeup. So today I went to 7-Eleven and my mom had me run in and I just got a couple Slurpees. It was one for me, one for my sister, and one for my mom. And then my mom was gonna share hers with my little sister, so blah 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 blah. So I think it was 4 Slurpees. And I got it to the cashier, and the lady proceeds to look me up and down. Mind you, she had a really perfect body. Like, to me, her body was like perfect. But she continued to look me up and down, and I got really uncomfortable. Then like 5 seconds later, she looks at me and she goes, "No wonder why your body looks like that." I was like, "Oh man, these aren't all for me." And she continued to just look me up and down and say, it said, her exact words were, "You don't need that type of sugar to begin with." When I tell you, I just ended up not even drinking my Slurpee because I started to feel so insecure. But the lady basically was telling me that, like, I don't know. You guys get the point. But, like, if you're that lady, thank you, because now I can't eat. Story time of how my uncle got cremated alive. So my uncle was a funeral home director in New York. And due to the extreme amount of increased deaths due to the pandemic, he ended up having to work at least 12 to 16 hours a day. So of course, almost every single day he was extremely exhausted. So my uncle went into the crematorial, laid down on one of the stretchers, and took a nap. And while my uncle was sleeping, a coworker mistook him for a 52-year-old man who died due to respiratory issues. The coworker then rolled the stretcher right into the crematory. Before his coworker could notice the mistake, my uncle was already exposed to temperatures ranging between 14 to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Then within seconds, he was reduced to ashes. There is currently an open investigation around his death. So there you have it, kids. If you work in a funeral home, never take a nap in the crematory on one of the stretchers. Story time of how I burned down my entire house when I was 8 years old. So basically, we had so many candles in the house, I guess just because my mom was obsessed with candles. I was also obsessed with fire. So every time I seen the candle, I would put my finger in the fire. And no, it didn't hurt me whatsoever. I guess it was just amusing to me. And everybody called me a pyro. So one day I was scrolling on Musical.ly, and on like the Feature Me page, I saw something with a candle. And it was like how to make your own candle or something like that. But you had to make your own candle out of a candle. So I went into my room and I closed my door. And like the first step was melting the candle all the way. So I lit the candle and then I put a piece of paper in there. I don't know why I did, but I did. And the fire started getting so big, so I lifted the piece of paper and I threw it on my rug. And I didn't want to get in trouble for fire on the floor, so I just left my room and left it alone. And I kid you not, just a couple minutes later, I hear the smoke detector going off. And my older brother screaming. I'm running out of time, like, for part 2. Part 2 of how I burned down my entire house at just 8 years old. So continuing with the story, after I hear the smoke alarms going off and my brother screaming, I knew exactly what I did. And I blamed it all on my brother. And to this day, they still think it's my brother, even though it was in my room, but my family believed whatever I said. Anyways, the whole back side of the house was on fire, and we all rush out of the house. And of course, my mom takes care of it. I'm pretty sure she called 911. Well, duh. Sadly, our 2 cats, 2 bunnies, and 4 hamsters were in the house. And our bird, but our bird was getting ready to pass anyways. I'm not sure how, but the house caught on fire so quickly, and the entire thing just blew up into flames. There might have been something else that the fire triggered to make it more big, I guess. I don't really know how to word that. But we ended up raising enough money to move to a different house because we lost every single one of our belongings. When the house burned down, there was only one wall standing, and it was the wall of pictures of my grandma who passed 10 years ago.
Every time on my way came off in front of my date, the guy I was meeting up with on the date was one of my friend's co-workers. She actually set us up because she thought that he would be my type. Fast forward, we go to Fridays, and we're having a great time. And he seems like a nice, all-around type of guy. Now, that day, my wig was slayed, and I believe the hair was like 30 inches. When the waitress comes over, she gives me and my date our plate of food. Before she leaves, she asks us if there anything else we needed. We said no. Then she put a pen that she had in her hand in her back pocket. And like I said before, my hair was really long. And she ended up sweeping a few of my hairs in her pocket. When the waitress walks away, my wig pops off. And me and my date are in shock. He stares at me for a good 10 seconds, and I tell him I needed to go to the bathroom, and I also got my wig back. But when I come back out to apologize and continue our date, he disappears. Oh yeah, So my cousin just had her baby girl, and she was just getting around and learning to be a new mommy. But she was really messy when it came to changing diapers. When Father's Day came, she threw the party and invited all the family and their kids. When everyone gets there, everyone is having a good time, and she pulls out bread and starts making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for all the kids. In the middle of her preparing, her daughter starts crying, and it's because she needed her diaper changed. So she went into the bathroom to change her diaper, and after she got done, she handed her to me and starts to wash her hands. Afterwards, she just went right back to making the sandwiches. Once she got done, she handed all the kids a sandwich, and I noticed that she had peanut butter on her arm, and I told her to wash it off. And she was like, no biggie, and licked it off her arm. And she realized really quickly that it wasn't peanut butter.